Hello, welcome to Invictus. Today what we're going to show you is how we service one of these cars. This came in from a customer that called us initially just getting a quote for their Porsche Boxster service. When we found out that the customer only lived 4 minutes from us, we said we'll come out to you to pick it up and brought it over to the workshop. This was on Saturday, and then we were obviously closed on Sunday and Mondays, and we've had it up on the ramp today, give it a once over, explaining everything that we needed to explain by video, and photos have now completed all the work. So if this is something that you're looking for, feel free to reach out to us. I mean, the level of a servicing that we do, which you will see in the rest of the video, says a lot about how it's done here with us at Invictus.
So just this lovely Boxster in for a service today. Just an oil service it came in for. We have checked the air filter, obviously being a mid-engine vehicle. It often gets missed. What I'll do in a little while is I'll bring it down and I'll show you exactly why it gets missed. But we've had a look at all the brakes on this vehicle, done a general health check, checked the tyres. The tyres are a little bit worn in the middle here, shows signs of slight overinflation. So we've put them down to 2.5 bar. The pads on the rear have got about 50% of their life left. They're in good condition, there's no real lips on the discs. Underneath, as you can see, it's really well maintained actually. There's no real corrosion. We've got one bush here that obviously just has a weep on it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, just in the centre there, which we've advised the customer to change. And also, if we run to the front of the vehicle here, we have noticed that at some point someone's changed the brakes on this vehicle and they haven't put a bolt back into the securing bracket. Not a problem initially, but what will end up happening is it will stress this pipe out here and it will end up snapping it. So we've advised the customer to put a new bolt in there and just monitor that pipe for any further corrosion. What I'll do is I'll just finish up putting everything back together underneath here, and we will drop it down and I'll show you exactly why this air filter gets missed. What I did notice with it is, I'll pull this oil filter out of here quickly to show you. That's the one that came out of your car. This is the one that should have been in your car. It's the complete wrong oil filter, which means it hasn't actually been taking any of the contaminants out of the vehicle. What I would recommend at this stage is if we put this one in and then in 1,000 miles we redo the service, because it hasn't taken any contaminants out. Contaminants will still be in the engine, albeit we have drained the oil, so we should have got most of it out. There are passages which it will still be sitting, and it will just be good practice to replace that again, just to make sure we're not going to get anything running around your bearings and causing wear prematurely. So obviously now we're back down on the ground. This is the air filter that always gets missed. As you can see, new, old. This one isn't horrendous, but it is due a change. And the reason this air filter always gets missed is because of its location. This being a mid-engined car, it is located, funnily enough, in the middle of the car. So if you look there, we've had to take all the paneling, the flooring up, and it is just awkward to get to. So most people do miss it. So obviously anyone purchasing one of these, this is the prime filter to check if it's actually had a proper service schedule. See, it's quite fiddly to get in and out as well. Right, not my favourite job. That just took me about 5 minutes to get that in. But once it's in, there is a securing screw, and they are just these little Phillips head screws. So what you end up doing is putting the securing screws in. Again, can be a little bit fiddly. I'm going to cheat, I'm going to use electric. Don't over tighten these, because you will end up rounding them off and then you won't get them off again. That slides over there, and again 2 Phillips head screws just to fasten the airbox down. So the next thing is obviously putting this engine cover back on. It does only take 4 screws, but again, it's one of those jobs that it can be a little bit fiddly on your own. So I'll just put it on quickly and show you how it fastens. So it will slot in position as it wants to fall. And then you've got some T30s here, which will fasten it on. Again, I'm going to cheat, I'm going to use ratchets. Again, be careful not to fasten these up too much, because you don't want to be rounding them off or snapping them. So once you've got to this stage, you're not too far off done actually. We've got 2 covers here. This is the one that goes in underneath, and then that will slot on top there. And you'll recognise that one from inside the car. Again, a bit of a fiddly job on your own. But it does slot in very nicely once you get it in position. Just be careful not to snap these plastic tabs off in here. But they will fasten down with just a half turn. And lastly, this one here. That's facing obviously the inside of the car. And we'll just do another half turn to fasten down. Like so. One thing not to forget is obviously to reconnect your cables at the sides here. They do disappear into the abyss, and they can be easily forgotten. They just hold this down, so when you're putting the roof up and down, it can't fly up. Yeah, it does take 7.5 litres on an oil change. I normally put a couple hundred mil less in and just do a check, just because there's always some residual left in the engine somewhere. So I'll just put another 2.5 litres in there, and then we'll fire her up. They're actually really nice to work on. You just have to make sure you're a bit methodical with what you're doing with them, and they're quite a pleasure to work on. Nothing's particularly difficult. Just a little bit fiddly. Some of them can be a little bit trickier. Like the 911, for instance, removing the bumpers to do the air filters can be a little bit frustrating. But they're German at the end of the day. They're well engineered, and they're meant to be serviced regularly, just how the Germans like it. So they have made it so it's not too strenuous to do so. What we also do on our service here is make sure that all of the points that move on the roof, doors, anything like that are greased as well. So what I'm going to do is put some lithium grease on these hinges here just before I shut this up. Make sure that the operation of them runs smoothly for longer. Obviously you don't need to go overboard with this. It's literally just to keep them lubricated and to do your best to try and keep some moisture out of the joints. So now what we'll do is we'll just put the roof back up, make sure that she's working well. And then we'll start it and check the oil level. So as you can hear, she's running nicely. Just going to close this bonnet quickly so I can check the oil level, which is done obviously on the computer on these. It will take a minute or so for the temperature of the oil to come up to be able to check it. So while that's doing that, we'll cut off a minute and show you what it's like when it is working and operational. engine's running, what we'll do is we'll just check underneath, make sure there's no oil leaks while we're waiting for this oil to warm up a little bit. Obviously we made a bit of a mess earlier when we took the oil filter off, so we'll just have a quick spray around here, make sure there's no residue that's going to burn and smell like burning oil to the customer. That'll just evaporate, that's just brake cleaner. And what I'm trying to do here is just see if we can fasten that bracket back up to where it should be without putting too much stress on that brake pipe. Someone's actually snapped it off inside of there, so that's not going to be possible. That would need drilling back out. We'll let the customer know, and obviously if he would like to go ahead with that and replace that brake pipe at the same time. There's a bolt for the securing bracket just round here, which is snapped off in this hub, so it will need replacing and then or drilling out and then replacing, but the brake line is very corroded, so it maybe replaces that at the same time. So just one last thing to do once you've actually serviced these is check the oil level is correct. Now you do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in and then you can just see the dashboard and I'll talk you through how to do it. So you've got your function stalk down the bottom here. What you want to be doing is just pushing it backwards and going to oil. Now your vehicle will need to be warmed in order to do this, but it will measure it and it will give you an oil level. So the bottom line to the top is roughly about 1 litre. So as I say, I always put about 200 ml less in, and that will be reflected in this particular test. I could do probably putting about 200 ml of oil back in there. Once you've done this, your car's all set, ready for the road again.